in the U.S. alone, about 30,000 children turned 18 and left foster care without a family. If this tragedy continues, more and more children will be left without a family each year. However, with increasing desire to adopt, it is possible to decrease the amount of children leaving foster care without being adopted into a suitable family for them. Adoption, most recently, has become a more popular option, especially in Hollywood, California. Celebrities such as Angelina Jolie specifically have adopted more than one child. With statistics such as 423,773 children in the United States foster care alone, and only 115,000 of them available for adoption, it is not unrealistic to hope for each child to go to a loving home, especially in a country with a population well past 300 million. There are several pros and cons for the birth parents, adoptive parents, and the adopted persons involved in open adoption. Webster's Dictionary defines open adoption as an arrangement in which contact is maintained or allowed between a child's adoptive and biological parents. Birth parents benefit from open adoption for several reasons. Biological mothers may deal with an excessive amount of grief and loss when giving their child up for adoption. However, an open adoption gives them increased ability to manage their grief by direct interaction with the child. Also, mothers can feel comfort in knowing their child's well-being. Many mothers give their child up for adoption because they care for the child and want to give them the ability of having a better life that they cannot give them. For example, an anonymous birth mother who gave her child up for adoption writes, "I wanted my child to live a good life, one that I am unable to provide. Therefore, the ability to know the child is doing well is a very common reason birth mothers choose open adoption. Not to mention the potential to develop a healthy relationship with the child as he or she grows is a crucial element in open adoption for some mothers. Also, the option of open adoption may sometimes make the decision to place for adoption easier. When considering adoption or parenting, open adoption is a beneficial compromise for both sides. There are several beneficial factors for the adoptive parents, such as having an increased sense of having the right to parent, which leads to the increased ability for confident parenting. There is also the potential for an authentic relationship with the birth family. There would also be more understanding of the children's history, such as their ethnicity or their mental health history if the child's parents had a mental health issue. Also, the adoptive parents have increased empathy for birth parents. There's also less fear of birth parents trying to reclaim their child because they know the parent and their wishes. This prevents any feeling of regret becoming a problem in the open adoption. Last, the adoptive parents have the delight of being chosen as a parent. There are some cons to open adoption. However, full responsibility for setting relationship limits and boundaries. There is the potential pressure of accepting openness or not having the child. Potential difficulty with emotionally disturbed birth parents. They might have the feeling of regret. They also potentially have to emotionally support both the child and the biological parent. The child or children being adopted benefit by having direct access to birth parents and their history. The need to search for their biological parents is eliminated as many children in adoption look for them. The identity questions are answered, such as who do I look like and why was I placed for adoption. It also eases the feelings of abandonment which many children have who are placed for adoption. There is an increased circle of supportive adults, which is their biological mother or biological father and their adoptive parents. And there's an increased attachment to adoptive family, especially if the birth parents support the placement. It also lessens loyalty conflicts within the family of their biological mother and their adoptive mother, and the ability for evolving dynamic and developmentally appropriate account of the adoption. Unfortunately, the cons for the adopted children are that they don't have a clean break for assimilation into the family, which some feel is necessary. They also could have potential feelings of rejection if contact stops with their biological parents. And the difficulty explaining the relationship to peers can be stressful. and they could potentially feel that they are playing families against each other from their biological mother and their adoptive parents. As you can see, there are several pros and cons to open adoption. The birth mother, adoptive parents, and adopted children can benefit greatly. There are many factors to consider when planning to adopt. However, in my opinion, the pros outweigh the cons and make open adoption beneficial to all parties involved. Does anyone have any questions?